16 years of struggle. 16 years of victory. The Asian Federation Against Involuntary Disappearances continues to fulfill its commitment in attaining a world without disappearances. Built upon a strong foundation of solidarity among its member organizations across Asia, Afad will persistently achieve milestones. Today, as Afad marks its 17th year of existence, we will take you on a journey where pain is transformed to courage, cries and calls are echoed, and the strength of solidarity is once again proven powerful. Enforced disappearance is the cruelest form of human rights violations. It is often used as a tool to suppress dissenting voices amongst repressive and non-repressive states, in countries in times of peace and in conflict situations. The act crosses boundaries of time and geography, and leaves families of victims in a state of suspended grief, with their pain spanning across their lifetime and passed on to their next kin and generation. The United Nations Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances in its report for the year 2012, reveals that there are 53,986 cases reported from around the world since the structure was formed. The UN Working Group reports that there are 42,889 cases in 84 states that are still under active consideration, 27 of which are in Asia. During the 1997 commemoration of the International Week of the Disappeared in the Philippines, the Asian Federation Against Involuntary Disappearances was conceptualized through the initiative of the families of victims of involuntary disappearance.
Afad was conceptualized in 1997 when FIND convened the May 1997 International Week of the Disappeared. We invited representatives of organizations of families of the disappeared from other parts of Asia and from Central and the Southern part of Latin America. So we were inspired by Reverend Father John Cortina, who was the representative of the Association for the Search of Disappeared Children in El Salvador, to form an Asian group which would be coordinated with FEDIFAM. And we made a plan to convene a core group the following year, and that was cooperated with the Association of Parents of Disappeared Persons in Kashmir, and also with then OPFMD, or Organization of Parents and Family Members of the Disappeared in Sri Lanka. So we started with 3 organizations as a core group, and eventually through the years, it has been 17 years already, we have grown into a federation of 11 member organizations from 8 countries with presence in the Philippines, in Bangladesh, in India, Indonesia, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and South Korea. Since then, we have been responding to the common phenomenon of enforced disappearances in many Asian countries, because Asia is a continent that has submitted the biggest number of cases to the Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances of the UN. Since then, we have also facilitated solidarity among organizations working on the same issue here in Asia, and we also coordinate with other similar formations in other regions such as Europe. We remember Belarus and Euro-Mediterranean Federation of Associations of Families of the Disappeared, and with the Latin American Federation of Associations of Relatives of Disappeared Detainees, or FEDIFAM.
To ensure that the public becomes fully aware about the phenomenon of enforced disappearance, Afad has been consistently doing information disseminating activities such as lobbying tours in Asian countries to highlight the issue of disappearances, and to provide pressure on Asian governments to respond to the demands of accountability, and the call to end impunity. University fora, to educate the youth about the phenomenon of enforced disappearances. Military and police seminars and workshop, to open their minds about enforced disappearances. Books, like Beyond Tears and Borders, Reclaiming Stolen Lives, and Healing Wounds, Mending Scars. The Voice, a biannual publication that provides the latest information on human rights, with focus on involuntary disappearance issue within the Asian region. Concerts. And documentary videos. On December 21, 2012, a law against enforced disappearance was passed in the Philippines, known as the Anti-Enforced or Involuntary Disappearance Act of 2012. The law was the fruit of the 16 years of battle, a testament of families of victims of involuntary disappearances' collective steadfastness to pursue their dream that one day, a law criminalizing enforced disappearance would be passed.
We have been supporting FIND in its effort for 16 years to lobby for the enactment of this anti-enforced disappearance law in the Philippines, which is the first in Asia, the first of its kind in Asia.
Afad has been actively documenting cases of enforced disappearances in countries of member organizations. A strong database is needed, in the campaign for justice and allocation of resources, in order to help families or relatives of the victims. Trainings were conducted among staff of member organizations, to capacitate them in collecting data and documenting cases. Trainings were conducted among staff of member organizations, to capacitate them in collecting data and documenting cases. Major researches were also conducted, to gain deeper understanding about the social and cultural implications of the phenomenon. Afad is a reaffirmation to the families of the disappeared in countries across Asia, as well as other continents. It ensures a stronger response to the needs of the families and relatives, who suffer the pain of enforced disappearance. Rehabilitation is one great aspect of healing the wounds of the families of victims. Afad has been conducting trainings to strengthen the capacity of the Federation and its member organizations. It intends to facilitate their empowerment, which is necessary as they envision and work towards a world without desaparecidos.
30 years in helping families of the disappeared to reclaim the stolen lives of the world's desaparecidos. Without your humanitarian work in helping organizations of families and NGOs involved in this unspeakably cruel form of human rights violation, the number of lives lost from enforced or involuntary disappearance would have been immeasurably greater.
Afad has also formed networks with other national and regional formations, working on enforced disappearances in particular and human rights in general, by dint of its reputation as a key player in the fight against enforced disappearances at the international level. Afad has gained international recognition at the United Nations. During the 3-year drafting and negotiation process of the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance in Geneva, Switzerland, from 2003 to 2005. Afad's consistent and active participation helped convince the United Nations to adopt an international treaty against enforced disappearances, with a strong and independent monitoring body to ensure implementation. It has maintained strong bilateral relations with the existing UN bodies, working on enforced disappearances, particularly the United Nations Working Group on Enforced or Involuntary Disappearances, and the United Nations Committee on Enforced Disappearances.
I think that among the different organizations of relatives of disappeared people, Afad played a crucial role. First of all, the very presence of relatives from Asia was important for many countries because at least until the negotiations started in 2002, many countries still thought that enforced disappearance was a matter of the past and only related to Latin America. When representatives from Asian countries were physically present during the negotiations, it became impossible to deny the existence of the phenomenon, the importance of the phenomenon, and the need for a universal legal instrument against enforced disappearance. Therefore, at this stage is when Afad also played a crucial role in the drafting of the provisions. And I would mention one particular instance, which is unfortunate, but also shows the importance of being sitting there. There is a provision in the Convention, which is Article 24. And I would say that Article 24 is the pillar of the Convention, where a definition of the victim of enforced disappearance is included, is where the right to know the truth is recognized. And therefore, in drafting that provision, there was also a paragraph that recognized the right to form associations of relatives of disappeared persons and the obligation of the states to guarantee this right.
Afad links arms with the Latin American Federation of Associations of Relatives of Disappeared Detainees, with similar formations in other continents and with human rights institutions working on the issue of enforced disappearances. Moreover, since 2010, Afad has been entrusted the position of being the focal point of the 52-member International Coalition Against Enforced Disappearances, or ICAED, whose mandate is to campaign for universal ratification and implementation of the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances.
So my husband disappeared in 1999, and the first I decided to look to find only my husband. But after many years, I found out that I can find justice only with support and some other organization of family of disappeared, and with solidarity with other organizations. That's why I think I was very lucky to be introduced to Afad. And Afad became a kind of teacher for me. They share experience and they organize a great connection between families of disappeared, not only in Asia, but also in the world. So we have a great connection. Afad have a great connection with the families of disappeared in Latin America, in Europe, like our organization. So we have kind of a big family of families of disappeared, and I think a role of Afad is to organize this network of families in the world.
La lucha por la verdad y la justicia de víctimas de desaparición forzada requiere de algún tipo de organización. No se puede luchar solo, una víctima sola, un familiar solo, contra un Estado, porque no va a conseguir nunca nada. La manera de defender los derechos humanos es en grupos de familiares, en grupos de gentes que están sufriendo el dolor de los abusos que cometen los Estados. La violación, el tema de derechos humanos, tenemos que reconocerlo, es un tema político. No es partidista, pero es político. Y por lo tanto no se puede hacer de a uno. Es necesario tener una visión de que por qué el Estado está recurriendo al asesinato, a la desaparición, a la tortura, a la eliminación del opositor, a la eliminación del periodista, hay que entender que el Estado recurre a la eliminación de los opositores, de los periodistas, de los abogados, porque les son enemigos en la construcción de su proyecto político. Y por lo tanto, una víctima sola no puede enfrentar al Estado. Se necesita alianzas. Y en la defensa de los derechos humanos, en la demanda de justicia por las violaciones a los derechos humanos, debe integrarse la mayor cantidad de actores posibles. En mi país, en Chile, los principales actores en la defensa de los derechos humanos fueron las congregaciones religiosas. Se juntaron iglesias católicas, protestantes, ortodoxas y judías para la defensa de los derechos humanos. Y finalmente ganamos y logramos que Pinochet fuera derrotado en un referéndum en el que él buscaba perpetuarse, porque hubo una alianza fuerte y actores fundamentales fueron las víctimas. ¿Qué es lo que es Afad? Afad es una organización de víctimas. Su función, su objetivo es defender a los familiares que el Estado secuestró, arbitrariamente desde luego, con violencia, recurriendo a la mentira, en actos de cobardía. Lo hermoso de la defensa de los derechos humanos es que grupos de ciudadanos pobres, sin recursos, sin poder, sin dinero, sin armas, se enfrentan al Estado poderoso, con dinero, que tiene armas, que tiene dinero, que tiene criminales a su servicio, y las víctimas que no tienen nada de eso, los enfrentan y finalmente ganan las batallas. Pero no lo puede hacer una persona sola.
Afad's dedication has been recognized internationally. On December 10, 2013, the government of Argentina bestowed upon the Afad Secretary General for her work against enforced disappearances in Asia and in the world, the Emilio International Human Rights Award. She also received the Patrick Rice Human Rights Award in Washington, D.C. in 2013, and another award bestowed upon by the Commission on Human Rights in the Philippines. Likewise, in the course of Afad's 16 years, prestigious international human awards were also bestowed upon its other individual council members in Bangladesh. Contras of Indonesia also won the Emilio Mignoni in 2012. It has been 16 years that Asian Federation Against Involuntary Disappearances remains faithful to its mission of working for the truth, justice, redress and the reconstruction of the historical memory of the disappeared. Considering the vast Asian continent, Afad has so far reached only 9 countries. Imperative indeed is to reach out to victims of enforced disappearances in other countries, who are equally suffering from such phenomenon. Internally, Afad has to further strengthen itself, to meet the increasing demands of the continuing phenomenon of enforced disappearance. Thus, it is imperative to empower the families of the disappeared, who are in the best position to banner their issue and demand for truth and justice. Structurally, Afad has to obtain further organic outcomes. Bodies within its structure have to be strengthened, to march in step towards the same direction. Garnering moral, material, and political support from all actors is a challenge. Enforced disappearance in Asia is limited to families and concern NGOs. It is a parochial concern of few groups and individuals. Making enforced disappearance in Asia a societal issue, and going beyond being parochial is a challenge. While the suffering of the families of the disappeared continues, Afad persists to stand by its guiding principles and mission, working in solidarity with its member organizations for the realization of a world without desaparecidos. The fight for justice, accountability, and to end impunity lives on. Stop the cruelest form of human rights violation. Stop enforced disappearances.